And we're off. And hello, everybody who's watching this broadcast podcast, however you want to term it these days. I'm here with Nikki Malloy. My name is Roy Bristow from the Soul Energy Traveller. And yeah, so what we're doing is talking about quantum. Talking about quantum, wondering what that might be about. Basically, for me, quantum is just the modern term for the universe, everything in its macrocosm, microcosm, all the dimensions and everything that's changing right now. Obviously, the world is going through a absolutely gigantic change right now. We're all experiencing it through different ways at our own level and everything else that's going on. And so I'll pass you over to Nikki so she can introduce herself as well. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, everybody. Hi, I'm Nikki. I am a healer, although I don't really like to use the word healer because basically I just create a beautiful space for people to actually heal themselves. I'm also an intuitive coach, and I'm also gone wrong.
That's all right. That's all right. Stage fright. We'll bleep out the S word. No, we won't, because it's an adult show, so whatever. And yeah.
Right, shall I start introducing myself again? Because can you get your bit and then add me on or not?
No, I can't. I wouldn't know how to do that.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's all right. Look, it'll be a good introduction.
I'm not going to go into it. Do you know what? Next time I'm just going to say, hi, I'm Nikki, I'm a healer, and I'm an intuitive coach. Pleased to be here today, blah, 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 blah.
Right, this just shows us that we're real. Everything.
Yeah, but you're not witnessing
now. So for everyone that's watching, we're already in the flow. This is the kind of thing that happens in the flow that teaches us things. It's kind of how quantum works. And good old beautiful Nikki there is showing the physical side of how it can work, where you can sort of get a bit flustered or stuff like that. But everything happens for a reason. And this, and obviously the people that are going to end up watching this, because we're going to do this regularly. We haven't figured out how frequently yet, whether it's going to be a bi-week, a fortnightly thing, or a monthly thing. I think with everything that goes at the moment, we need to do it at least every couple of weeks. What do you reckon?
Yeah, at least every weekly, 2 weeks.
Yeah. Well, look, we'll just put it out as because this is all about talking about how the flow works, how the present moment works. And as you can see, that if we're going to talk about the present moment and talk about the flow, we've got to have moments like there was a few minutes ago to show you that we are living in the flow, and that's you've got to learn how to understand yourself. That's a Charlie Freak reference for those that are aware of that one. It's different to understand. Understanding means that you're standing under people, and that's a change of vocabulary these days. We may talk about that more later. And also, so when things happen in the flow, you've got to be kind to yourself. Just got to go, you know what? Okay, that didn't go as I planned, but it went as it was meant to go. And that's quantum. It's, you can plan your whole life all you like, but things happen in the flow. And when you're able to take a step back and look at why it happened in that particular way, therein lies the teaching, the lesson that will help you grow, that will help you understand yourself better. And just more often than not, we only really usually notice the real big mess ups throughout our life, the bad marriages and the car crashes and the loss of jobs and all those kinds of things. It's no different to the little mess up that Nikki had about a few minutes ago. They're exactly the same. Yeah. At a quantum level, they are exactly the same energetic principle.
Yeah, I'm feeling much more in my body now, much more grounded and much more present.
Excellent.
So yeah, I think there was just initially some nerves of, this is probably the second time I've done a YouTube video. So yeah.
Yeah, and this first one, it's not actually live, but we may, I'm still working out a few technical issues.
Yeah.
Well, it's not simply because I've never done a YouTube live before, and I don't think Nikki has either.
No.
I've looked into it very briefly, but yeah. So we will probably do lives later on. We might even do them on my Facebook page or Nikki's, or I've got a Facebook group. So we'll put the links in the comments so you can join up to there. One on my Facebook page is just free for all. Anybody can follow it. My group is just ask a few answer a few questions, and I'll let you in anyway. It's not exactly massively secure. It's just a one-step barrier.
Yeah.
And so well, obviously on the next live we'll open up the comments for if anybody's got any questions for the next live. We'll probably do another one next week. It's just to keep it close in the beginning. And again, because everything is changing rapidly at the moment, absolutely rapidly.
And I believe people can put questions anywhere once we've posted this one, once this has gone on to the YouTube. So happy to answer questions from that one as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be a bit of an open forum at times. I'm an intuitive channel, so often I will talk about stuff without realizing what I'm talking about, as in we haven't planned the conversation. Not that I don't know what I'm talking about, that does happen. That does. Don't get me wrong, that does happen. Sometimes I think I'm channeling when I'm really just talking rubbish. It's entirely up to you. If it doesn't resonate, then even if it doesn't resonate and I'm channeling, that just means that that information's not for you at that present time. It might become relevant later. It may never become relevant. And it's all about knowing yourself within, which is why that term inner stand is a good term to use. A good term to use.
And I'd like to follow on from that, Roy, is like yourself, I have spent all of my life searching really for the truth. I am a truth seeker, and it's kind of like you go in a full roundabout, because you start searching and you're looking outside of yourself everywhere. Looking for the truth in books, in other people, in places, in things. And it's kind of like you go on this merry-go-round all the way around that eventually brings you back to yourself again, and your inner understanding and your inner knowing. And you may go around that roundabout lots and lots and lots of times, even though you understand that going inside is the secret, if you like, or the magic. It's learning to really trust that knowing. And so sometimes we can do it many times, and then we always come back to that inner knowing. And for me, I realized that I had it all along.
Yeah. We all do. We all do.
Yeah, we all do. And for me, it's like I get quite visual pictures in my inner mind.
Some people may call that clairvoyance.
Yeah, and just to start off this discussion, really, at the start of this lockdown, I kind of like visualized the planet, our beautiful Mother Earth planet, splitting into kind of like two worlds. But in this splitting, there was also, as there is with everything, like there was so many different potentials in this split and this split. And the higher sort of world split that I visualized was this absolutely beautiful planet where it's a bit like, if anybody's seen the Celestine prophecy, and I mean that's beautiful when they see all the vibrant colours and
sorry
people
to interrupt, the moon in the background looks like the yin yang.
It does, yeah.
So
yeah, it's amazing. Yeah,
yeah, so isn't that incredible? We're talking, you know, just as what you was talking about, that image.
yeah, like a splitting.
Never,
Yeah,
I've never noticed the moon be like the yin yang before. Isn't that incredible?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
I'll
Sorry,
just
carry on.
point out. I'll just point out there for viewers. Roy does get quite a lot of inner messages. So as I'm talking, he might just do that and pick up on things, and that's absolutely great. But yeah, where people were sort of connecting with each other and really sort of feeling that love with each other. And I just visualize this absolutely beautiful world. And then I kind of went on this journey, as I'm sure many others have, down lockdown. I was, you know, connecting with different people on YouTube, reading all sorts of information. And I got to like the point of where I've kind of like narrowed it down to a few people that I really admire and feel in my inner knowing that they have, they're talking the truth. And again, I'd like to say Charlie Freak, which you just mentioned as well, Roy, because for me, he is
And the reason he talks the truth is because he goes within.
absolutely, yeah,
He goes
absolutely,
within, does a lot of meditating, goes within. And you remember as well, like, and this applies to everybody that's watching, that going within, your journey is specific to you. So, you know, Charlie Freak resonates with both myself and Nikki, but you may not resonate with you because your journey may just be slightly different, and you might need a different truth teller that resonates with you. So,
yeah,
you know, don't blind. He always says, don't blindly follow.
yeah,
Follow your journey. If you always follow your journey, you go within and you follow and you go with what you feel is resonates with your journey.
yeah,
You've got to trust that.
yeah. And that's what I love about him as well. Whatever he's saying, he has that inner knowing about it, but he does say more or less use your own discernment, don't believe everything I'm saying, go in, find those answers for yourself. And it's also what I love about him and his wife Colleen. They're doing amazing work for animals, rescue animals. And me, I can always warm to somebody who is an animal lover that shows empathy and care. And I just find that's a beautiful quality, and I love what they're doing. I just think it's amazing. And he says, you know, all of his work. I mean, by the way, we're not on commission here for Charlie Freak at all.
Yeah,
but
no. We really need to just get away from, like, you know, move on to what we're all about.
Yeah, I'm coming away from it, but I'm just sort of saying I've kind of like through the lockdown, I've narrowed down, and I'm more again listening to my own inner knowing and just confirming things through that inner knowing or that inner understanding.
Yeah.
Inner standing, sorry.
Yeah. And for those that know or tune into any kind of sacred geometry, the way that Nikki was describing that the world is splitting is because we're going from the third dimensional thinking to fifth dimension. Well, we're going from a third dimensional vibration to a fifth dimensional vibration. So the world is literally, it's shedding an old skin. It's like it's going through a metamorphosis of a snake or even a spider that just released that old skin and are born anew. And where we're at the moment, I actually feel we're a bit more. So for that reason I mentioned sacred geometry is that there's a symbol called Vesica Pisces, which looks like this. And there's, you know, that's like your two worlds splitting. So we're currently just coming out of this area now. We're on the edge. So that bit there is very small now. We're very close to the switch over of 5D, which I reckon through a couple of other sources of what's being mentioned and the activation of the Uluru, which is, you know, the big Ayers rock, as some people may know it. is the 21st of December, which is also classed as the winter solstice. No, it's the summer solstice in Australia, but it would be winter solstice in the Northern Hemisphere. So, and for those that are also watching, we haven't really mentioned that. We both sound very English, and we are, but I actually live in Australia these days. I've done for about 12 years, since 2008. I had to, I had to come down to the Southern Hemisphere to balance this side of the world out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
I'm in the UK.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a beautiful rainy day today in the UK.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the weather, actually, because I mean, I'm located on the Gold Coast, which is temperate climate. You're not too far from the equator so we don't really get too cold, get the odd real hot days, but nothing extreme. And the weather's been really weird the last couple of days. So, I said, like, with everything, because of the world is shedding its old layer of third dimensional stuff, which is, third dimensional is war and anger and low vibration and hate of self and all those things under that kind of umbrella of self-hate, which then manifests itself in the outside world as violence and war and poverty and all those kinds of things. That's what we're letting go of. So we're going to actually stepping into this, what people would consider utopia. There's lots of other people talking about how that's coming about. We'll try and not go too deep into that, but basically you're talking about Nasara Jasara, which is a redistribution of the world's wealth, everything that we're entitled to as a sovereign being. There's all the hidden technology that will start coming out, and basically the riddance off the planet of all the bad people that are not doing very nice things to other people, all the human trafficking and all that kind of thing. But there's plenty, like I say, Charlie Freak, Charlie Ward, Sasha Stone, Laura Eisenhower, and other people. They're all, they're the ones. If you want to watch those and get up to speed on all that, definitely, if you really want to go diving into that rabbit hole. I myself do get information in regards to all that kind of thing in regards to the DUMS. I've done some remote, Spirit have just stepped me into remote viewing to look at a few places, and I do a bit of energy work as a kind of energetic spy, I suppose, for want of a better term. But in regards to this, I wanted to keep it more about all the energy, all about the quantum side of things, which is why we're calling this show Talking About Quantum. Even if you don't understand what that word really means, to be honest, neither do I. I just know it's everything. It's just a modern world. I feel in a way it's just a different word that we've come up with. That we used to use the word universe a lot. Now we use the word quantum.
Yeah.
Because I think quantum is more interdimensional, whereas universe is more singular. We're talking about this one universe, whereas quantum is talking about multiverse.
Yeah.
Which again, you go back to this symbol. Well, that's, if you say this is the old third dimension, that's your universe. This is your multiverse.
Yeah.
This is 3D. This is 5D.
Yeah.
But that's just my take on it.
Oh, it's interesting. I just go back to what you just said about the different energies on the planet at the minute, because we are, as you said, moving from 3D up to 5, and just how that's affected or affecting different people at the moment, because there is this collective consciousness, which if we're not careful and really looking after our own energy, we can get drawn into that energy. And as it's happened for me, there's been days of very sort of kind of up and down, and then I've had to mind myself, bring myself back into my own energy, shine my light, go back into love, go back into my heart, and just remember who I am. But I know that's all over the planet at the minute. We can see that with the things that's happening. Not that I haven't watched the news for I don't know, over 10 years I won't watch mainstream news, but obviously
Mainstream media.
yeah, but obviously through through trusted connections we can see what's going on in the world, shall we say that?
Look, I mean, jump into a lot further down the track. So I've been doing this inner journey for well over a decade now, with self-observation along the way. It's just a gift I was given for this life, so I could help teach others about the inner journey and have a really good ability to explain it in layman's terms. And through that process, I've learned to see the world in a very different way to others, in that the outer world actually shows me what's going on in my inner world. So it's about paying attention to literally what's put at your feet. So, for instance, I went for a walk at the weekend, and a local place called Burley Heads. It's near the ocean, and there's a small little set of woods that you can walk around on a hill. And sometimes you'll see a bit of wildlife, but not a great deal, because it's a very popular place, so they tend to stay away. The path is concreted, so But on this particular day, I was walking along, and two people stood there, and they was looking up and with cameras and stuff, and I was like, "Oh, what are they looking at?" And there was an eagle, or a sea eagle. It's literally 5 yards away, just on a branch on a tree next to eating a fish. He'd obviously caught a fish, stood there eating it. Stood that shit for a bit, videoed it as you do. And so that's a part. I mean, for me, eagles are powerful animal totem messages anyway. So, you really take notice of that. And especially like you look into, it's eating a fish, so it's taking on sustenance as well. So that there's all that fish or living water, which is all the emotional messages. Water represents emotions often when it comes to spiritual messages. And then once we decided to carry on, we walked around the corner, and 2 minutes later, there's a snake on the floor. I think it was just a green tree snake. I mean, I live in Australia, so there's a good chance that it's a very venomous one, because Australia has about 7 of the most venomous snakes. The top 10 venomous snakes in the world. Australia contains 7 of them. But I feel it was just a green tree snake, a non-venomous, or not venomous to humans anyway.
Mm.
And it was just sat there in the middle of the path. So, to see an eagle and a snake within 2 minutes of each other, that's like kind of an end of days animal totem messages. And, but yeah, just powerful. And then later on, I also saw a water dragon. So in one walk that takes about 40 minutes, there was an eagle, a snake, and a dragon. It's all very powerful messages. I mean, if you could represent that to what's going on in the world with Nasara Jasara, actually, just thinking about it. I know he's going to try and stay away from that, but the eagle definitely represents America. Mm-hmm. The snake represents the Cabal, and the dragon, well, that's China, which is the dragon bombs. Mm-hmm. And and the Cabal was basically in between the two messages. So the eagle first, the dragon third, with the Cabal in the middle.
Yeah.
And basically the snake didn't do anything. It didn't harm anybody, and it just slithered away into its hole. Which, to me, if you read, to decipher the code of that, which again, Spirit taught me 6 years how to decipher animal messages, and basically messages put at my feet, how to decipher that code. And I would say that, with China, and because China aren't the communist side anymore, they've let that go. But again, if you want to look more into that, that's all Charlie Freak and all that, those kind of people, that's their stuff. We don't need to go into it here. But it just means that, as I mentioned, that Australia contains a lot of venomous snakes, but it just shows that the Cabal, the Deep State, Illuminati, whatever terminology you want to give to that, that they look dangerous, but they're not. They've been taken care of. And they're basically being caught from either side, from 2 of the most powerful nations on the planet, that are now working together to basically send this world into this utopia, into the golden age, because energetically, we're coming into what's called the golden octave, mm-hmm. which is the golden 8. And 8 is a very big synonymous number with the Far East. Mm. All based around luck. And then 8 is also your infinity, which when the snake eats itself, if you look at the number 8 as a symbol in regards to the snake, Well, there's that symbol with a snake eating itself, which that's actually the symbol's called Ouroboros. I think it's Ouroboros. I think it is something like that. But yeah, it's the snake eating itself symbol, which again, it's just the figure of 8, which means what comes around goes around. You know, the figure of 8 can be used in karma, could work with the figure of 8. What comes around goes around. We're talking about inner standing ourself. Well, to go within, you know, you go on like your journey. You went on the outer, and realize that when you come back inside, the inner. And that's kind of what the outer is, a direct reflection to our inner. So we get the outer first, that then makes us go within to find the answers.
Yeah. And it's interesting what you were saying about the messages, because they are all around us. You know, our inner world does reflect our outer world as well. And it's just being more aware of it, isn't it? Because it's all around us, and it could be a car registration plate with a number, or it could be a message on a van that drives by. It could be something, a creature like you've said, or a feather on your feet, or it's all around us, and it's just being more open and aware. And when you see these signs, it's to just to go within, and the answer will come up, and it might not come up straight away. If you're not as experienced as Roy in interpreting these messages, then just go within, and it might come towards the end of the day. And actually, if you don't get that first message, you will eventually, because it will just keep presenting.
It'll keep coming now. You know,
as long as it's relevant.
Yeah.
But I just kind of wanted to stay on the same theme, but experience it from the way I interpret things through the way I get my knowings is through, as I say, like visuals in my mind's eye. And I don't have to be dreaming asleep. It can be now,
just dropped
within my mind's eye. But I've never really felt of this world anyway. I've never felt of this world. I've always felt that there was a falsity in the world. Like years ago, when I did watch TV and watch the news, it was like I was almost looking at them thinking, they're actors. Actually, it turns out they are.
Well, they are, yeah.
But years ago, I used to look at them, I used to think, is that for real? You know, like, and to current times we're going through now, the way that I've seen it for me is like, and I'm sure there's been either, you might know, Roy, but I'm sure there's been either like a music video or something that represents this, but it's almost like a watercolor painting, right? A painting with really vivid colors of like purples, yellows, but very bright and false, not like natural colors. And it's almost like all of that is dripping off. It's just washing away. It's just washing away, and that falsity is disappearing. And underneath that is like a natural beauty, a natural. The colours are more. I can't really explain it that well, but it's very difficult sometimes to interpret images. But it's almost like the falsity is being washed away, and it was so in your face. It was so like, whoa, why didn't how come people didn't see this before? It's like, it's like the curtain's been opened. It's like there's lots of interpretations I could say, but that was just my kind of like visualization, and it's dripping away, and it's sliding away.
Yeah. So the image they're giving me, so when I'm talking like this is for the people watching. When I'm doing this, it means spirit are dropping an image into my head to help translate what Nikki's just been saying. And what they showed me was, oh, okay, they've just updated it. So for any Simpsons fans out there, there's an episode where Homer invents a makeup gun and shoots Marge with the makeup gun, and she's got all this shit that makes her look like a clown. And it's kind of like, that's what it is. Like, we'll often say mutton dressed as lamb, you know, when the older ladies, or, you know, it's the modern world, old gentlemen have got so much makeup on, you cannot see their actual face. And it's like, okay, you know, obviously each to their own. We're not here to pull anybody down, of course. But when they've put, you know, they've gone over the top with the makeup, and because they're just trying to be noticed, or when in reality, you know, they're trying to be noticed when in reality they're actually trying to hide.
Yeah, like a mask.
Yeah, but in that regard, they've literally drawn a mask on their face.
Yeah, it's funny you should say that, and that again.
You know, and what's the world doing at the moment in regards to masks?
My inner standing is agreeing with that, because it's funny you should use the analogy of makeup, because that's kind of like, again, I can see that makeup running off the face, and actually what's underneath that is an absolute beauty. It's naked beauty of the essence of your soul shining through your eyes, you know.
Go into like the TV, what you're talking about. You think about TV and media has made people hate themselves. They said, oh, you should look like this. I mean, it's more prevalent for women than it is for men, but, you know, they've made them going, oh, you should look like this, you should weigh this, you should, and they've just been bombarded since probably the mid-70s onwards, or I would say, actually, I feel more the 80s. The 80s onwards, absolutely bombarded, and then, you know, and then there's so many, especially, you know, the Gold Coast is a big one for it, but so many people trying to chase that perfect image of themselves because of what they perceive they should be according to magazines and social media and mainstream media and all those things. And it's like, if you went within and learned to understand who you are, we're inherently beautiful, and it's only our own blocks that we put on ourselves, our own misgivings, our own journey, that where we put these things. So it's basically, we put blocks in the way, so we know at some point in our journey we've got to go within. We actually put these in place, so we force ourselves to go within at that relevant part in our journey. That's why you shouldn't be hard on yourself and get to the point of releasing an old version of you, because it was put there in purpose. It had a really positive, powerful purpose, but we often don't look at it that way. We're too hard on ourselves, which then defeats the object of going within.
Yeah. I mean, it's our programming. It's not who we are. We're born with parents that have certain programmings, and then between birth and the age 8, 9, 10, we are in a certain brain state wave that is almost like a meditative, very suggestible brainwave. So we pick up on things from our parents, from our teachers, from our peers. So, you know, if somebody says,
we learn monkey do.
Yeah, something like that. We're going to pick up on that, and that's going to become part of our program. And I mean, part of the work that I do as a quantum practitioner is to break down that old programming and to connect us to who we really are, our natural state, which is what we're talking about here, our connection to source. And source isn't something outside of us, it's in here. You know, it's in here. We're connecting with energies of Mother Earth and the Father through our vessel. That's who we really are. And so taking all these layers of programming and past, I mean, have love for it, because it's brought us to where we are today. It's given us our inner standing and learning and hopefully it's brought us back, like I explained earlier on in the video, to our inner self, But we can release this program, we can release all of these layers, but you've got to be dedicated. You've got to be dedicated.
Consistency and perseverance.
Absolutely.
Not always hard work either.
Not always, but commitment.
Some of it is.
Commitment.
Yeah, because you've got to release old patterns that in the beginning you didn't realize it was a program. And you're going to go through that you're going to be angry at yourself initially for allowing yourself you're going to feel a fool in the beginning, but you got to, through that, the whole journey, you've just got to move past it. And I don't mean to simplify that for anybody that's watching, because, I've done a lot of these journeys myself, and the more and more you do it, the more you do the inner journey, the better at it you get. It's like anything. The more you practice something, the better at it you get. Like I did a big healing, it was last week, wasn't it? Last week with yourself. So I did a big healing, removal of a massive layer that I'd had since I was 5. And, and I've done layers that big in the past where it was challenging and hard work and left you emotionally all over the place. Whereas because I'm a lot more practice now, a healing that was massive, it's just happening, I'm just dealing with it in the flow, and I'm wandering around like I'm the happiest guy on the planet who's not got any worries or any cares. Yet today was a bit of a rough day in regard, lonely, real deep loneliness had come to the surface. What else had come to the surface? There was a couple of other things, which when you're first doing that inner work, you sit in that energy for days, weeks sometimes, and there's definitely people out there who have been sitting in that energy for years.
Because they believe that's who they are.
Yeah. You're never the same person twice. Who I was at the start of this, I'm not that person anymore. As in the start of this video, this podcast, I'm not the same person. Because as you talk, you get more information, you get more revelations. Like, for the classic example is when the moon came up, which is a picture I took probably 7 years ago of the moon. And I've never ever seen it look like the yin yang before. But that's the moon. That means it'll always look like that. When you take some of the light off it, one side of it darkens, and you've got that S shape of the classic S shape that splits the yin yang. That can't be, and there's no such thing as a coincidence. No such thing.
Yeah.
And the irony is, I can remember making another picture because I do a bit of photography as a hobby. But I remember making it an actual yin yang out the moon, and I still didn't figure it.
Well, you've just had a deeper inner standing. That's great.
Apparently, I didn't need 3 hours worth of Photoshop work to do that. Just needed to put some of the light out of the picture.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah. I've learned a lot easier way to do it now.
Yeah.
But that's interesting talking about that. That's kind of how the inner journey works. The more you do that inner journey, the easier it becomes, because you know the inroad. So you're not forcing a new path anymore. You're actually starting to walk a well-worn path, and because you don't fear it anymore, you can happily hop, skip, and jump, and then just go off the branch line at whatever point you need to go off to where the bit of shadow work is.
Yeah. And once we release what I call layers, then we create more space in our energy field for light. So once we're releasing those shadows, and when I say shadows, and Roy can definitely talk more about this, when I say shadows, it's not a bad thing. I mean, there is no good and bad either, but it's a word to use to try and describe it. All that balance is necessary, but once we have released patterns and old programming, it makes space within our energy field for higher vibrations to come in. So it's beautiful the way that it works. But
and to use the analogy of the camera again, It's something Spirit gave to me, downloaded in the last few days. They were showing me that without shadow or without the dark, you can't create a full picture of yourself.
Yeah.
If all you let in is light in regards to how the camera works, and this is just how Spirit was showing me. And when I say Spirit, that also includes my higher self and my guides. For those that I'm a medium and I'm a soul medium as well. They're two different things. One will talk to your soul, one will talk to your past on family members. And when I talk to Spirit, I'll talk to different realm beings and all that kind of thing. So I get a lot of information, and I don't always ask where it's coming from in regards to who's actually talking. I know if it's light and I know if it's dark energy, because the energies feel very, very different. But what they were showing me was that in regards to a camera light, if all you let in is light, you just get a white piece, you just get a white photograph that's got no definition. You don't know what the picture is. In other words, you don't know what you look like if all your work is if all you do is be light and fluffy.
Yeah.
But same token is if all your work is, if all you're giving energy to is the dark side, you just end up with a black piece of paper with no definition. But with the right balance, you end up with a picture like that in the background. You'll get all the colours, you'll get what the picture's supposed to look like. And for me, I mean, it's actually changed since I had this, not a theory, but had this kind of intuitive knowing that the heart symbol is the yin yang. Because you've got light and dark, you've got both, but you've got light in the dark and dark in the light. And for me, that was originally the heart symbol, but it's actually changed now because we are going to become more loving through stepping into this golden octave. The way Spirit is showing me to it now, it's like the light is behind us. We're allowing ourselves to have the light have our back, which then anybody that knows that when the light's behind you, the front of you is kind of like black, but it means you can be anything to all people and you can be anything to yourself. In other words, you're formless, but of the light.
Yeah.
Hopefully that makes sense. How to describe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, it's interesting because we are in a universe of duality, polarity, and so when you were saying it's necessary to, with the analogy of the photograph, it's simple, and I can't remember which spiritual person said this, but it was, without suffering we couldn't experience the joy, and it is so true because. How could we appreciate that level of love that's coming in if we hadn't experienced war and all the horrible things or deemed as horrible things that has happened in the world? How could we, I'm not promoting war, by the way, but how could we appreciate it and show and have that much gratitude for that love? Some people would it would just blow them up, actually, that energy, or it would just pass them by. They wouldn't be able to they just wouldn't be able to feel it because
well, peace for me, peace and war are the same coin, different sides of the same coin. Can't have one without the other. But I say that we're soon about to. We're stepping out of that. We've done it for thousands and thousands of years. Well, but then again, if you go down the rabbit hole, you can't believe anything that we've been shown in history over the last. Unless you were there, seeing it with your own eyes, you can't believe history. You can't.
Yeah.
It's all been manipulated. Mainstream media has been around for a lot longer than just the television. It's been, in it was tape. Before that, it was the daily papers. Before that, it was, the classic saying that the winner's always right, the victor's always right history. Or history is always written by the winners. Sorry, that's it. History is always written by the winners.
Yeah.
So throughout history, the winners may have been bad people, but just portrayed themselves to be good people, and the people that defeat were bad. Well, that is there, and is just a simple description of the modern day narcissist.
Yeah.
Where they go around telling everybody that the person they're actually attacking is the bad person, and convincing everybody that, you know, and there's so many people I'm coming across these days that are going through that narcissistic relationship, whether it's with friends, family, an actual relationship. We're all doing that journey because we're all being taught to see the corruption. That's why there's so many narcissists. It's why there's so many empaths. Because I'm an empath. Nikki herself is an empath. There's many people watching that are going to be empaths, and I've not met an empath yet that hasn't done the narcissistic journey. Because, in my own experience, the narcissist is the greatest teacher of the empath. Because again, they're the same coin, size of the same. Coin. Whereas like an empath will take on board everybody's shit and try and own it. That's a disempowered empath, by the way. The one that's not fully working out how to use their gift as an empath, which is basically you actually don't own anybody's, but you just transmute some energy without going into it in too depth. That'd be a whole nother podcast.
Yeah.
But the narcissists just don't want to own their shit.
Yeah.
And try and dump it on everyone
else. Project it out onto everybody else.
Project it out onto everyone else and think that they're untouchable, whereas, you know, and then later the universe conspires to make them own their crap all in one go, and that's why they're the ones that usually get the biggest comeuppance, because they're the ones that have been, I'm not that, I've never done that. I wouldn't do that to anybody. Whereas the empath are they're more very hard on themselves and don't know how to accept love. They only know how to give it.
Yeah. Yeah. And again, we're so synchronistically in flow here at the minute, because I was going to mention, again, it's kind of like, it's like a very slow unraveling. So again, as I say, I'm very visual, so I have to try and explain it in visual pictures. It's like a screen that was darker is gradually getting lighter and lighter and lighter, and you start to see the truth of things. And again, for me, I don't know about everybody else, but I'm looking at these politicians on the internet. I'm just seeing them like as comedy characters. Like, seriously, it's like, really? You know, like, it's just more and more and more. Their masks are falling. Masks. They're like the truth of who they are. The ugliness and everything is like becoming clearer and clearer and clearer, to the point where it's just comedy now.
Making their lies that obvious. And yeah, I feel this is where we need to just take a step into the rabbit hole a little bit. That's just part of they're being told to do that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in a simplistic term, the transition from third dimensional vibration to fifth dimensional vibration is known as the Great Awakening. But to get people that have been asleep for years, that believe mainstream media, that believe politicians, even though they'd turn around and tell their friend the next day that, you know, they're going, oh, I don't trust any politicians, yet then the politicians tell them to wear a mask, and they're the first ones to wear a mask. It's like, you're just as ridiculous as politicians' lies, you know what I mean? But that's more just because they grew up not having, or their habit is not want to stand up. They just want to conform because they fear that if they don't conform, they won't be accepted by their friends or society. Society itself is an illusion.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a whole nother podcast in why that would be an illusion. But they're doing it in such a way that they're making everybody going, okay, this is just getting bloody ridiculous now. Even the ones that are really staunch conformists that just won't go against the status quo, seeing all their friends just going to protests or going, I'm not wearing a bloody mask, or no, I'm going to have a gathering, Sodom, or, you know, or looking into the legal ramifications of the constitutional law rather than the laws that the governments try and portray that exist, that basically undermine the constitutional law when the constitutional law rules all, which is about the power to the people, and the government's just meant to keep the power to the people running and do the best for the people, when well, for a long, long time, they've been doing what's best for their own pockets and feeding their masters. Whereas what's happened in the background is their masters have been supplanted with the good people, and they're still under orders, but just to get more and more and more ridiculous.
Yeah.
And make their
So it
lives
wakes
more
up.
and more and more
So it
prevalent.
wakes up. So it wakes the rest of us up.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So for those that are watching this that are fearing lockdowns and 5G and all those kinds of things, you know, vaccines, blah, 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 RFID chips, you know, chip implants, cashless society, ain't happening. It is not happening. Something much more beautiful is coming along. Do your research. If you want to research anything, research GESARA. So NESARA actually stands for National Economic Reform and Security Act. And GESARA just means global economic. It's already in place. It's already up and running. It's why 9/11, it's why the towers on 9/11 were brought down, because it was supposed to roll out in 2001, and it got stopped by the bad people that have now been stopped. So Trump is rolling NESARA out, which will then become GESARA.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
The normally the presidential election is just an American thing, but for once in history, it's a global thing, and everybody goes, Trump. Well, I say pray Trump's going to win. He's going to win because he's backed by.
He's already won.
Yeah, he's already won. He's backed by God or the universe, light, whatever term you feel comfortable with, Allah, whoever, you know, whoever your gig is, and. Yeah, so, you know, NESARA means global wealth for everybody. All the technology that's been hidden coming out, things like medical beds, that's basically you just lie in it, goes, and then you're all better again. If you want to know what they look like, watch a film called Elysium with Matt Damon. They're in that. You know, all these little things have been shown to us in films and the media all over so many years. They've just been drip feeding us all kinds of things. That's what it's called programming. We've all been programmed. Yeah. You know, I can't.
Yeah.
As much as I'm awake and as much as I'm not buying into mainstream media, to a certain level, I've still been programmed like the rest of us.
Absolutely. And the med bed, I knew about quite some years ago. It was shared with me from a friend in Costa Rica. And it's plasma and tachyon energy, or one of them is. There's many med beds that do many different things.
Tachyon energy healing,
and the elites have had these technologies, and they've been using them for some time, whilst you know the rest of us have been suffering. But now it's going to be
paying big pharma to stay sick.
Absolutely.
Big pharma don't kill anybody.
Absolutely. And now these amazing technologies and much more that we'll just never have imagined are going to come in and are going to be available to us all.
Well, the big one's free energy, which is Tesla coils.
Yeah.
That's the reason I always like to start with that one, because that is easily researched. Tesla invented free energy in the early 1900s. It's just that because the money men at the time, this is just a very, very simple version, the money men at the time couldn't find a way to monetize it and charge the public for it. So they didn't back it. Instead, they backed the DC system that Edison was working on, because they could regulate that and monetize it. That's the only reason. So even back in the early 1900s, there were money men ruining humanity.
Yeah. And again, Charlie Freak goes deep into, you know, electricity and free energy, very deep into it. So, you know, if you want to know any more about that, then hop over to his videos.
Yeah, it's magnetism, apparently, which is why you can't go to college and learn and do a degree on magnetism, but you can do a degree on French poetry from the 1900s.
Yeah.
Can't do a degree on something that's going to change the world, but you can do something about, you know, don't get me wrong, I'm not against poetry. Just anybody that's watching it does poetry. I've written and done live poetry, you know, myself in the past, but not French poetry. I can't speak French.
Not yet.
I know what a mouse and a cat is and a dog is in French. That's about it. But there's universal translators out there. I don't need to learn the language. I can just stick a thing there. But speaking of technology, you know, it's starting to, because NESARA has kicked in, and part of NESARA is the release of a minimum of 6,000 patents that have been hidden. That's part of NESARA. Again, research it. It's all in there. And one of them is also maglev. Well, magnetic levitation was they looked at that in the 50s and said, no, it's not viable. It wasn't viable because the global elite wanted it for their tunnels. Whereas now, recently, I came across an article on Virgin, which is Richard Branch from Virgin, talking about, we're going to invent a thing called the Hyperloop, which is magnetic levitation technology. All of a sudden, because all these people that were part of the hiding this technology are under different orders from a different person, which, for the, you know, anybody that's done the research, they know that's Trump, who's currently running the globe in a positive way, while NESARA gets done and dusted. So he's telling these people to start leaking this information out. Anybody that does even a modicum of research, like, you know, he's got Elon Musk under his control to help build the wall down in Mexico and also start making Tesla towers. Teslas are going to be the basic. So for those ones worrying about 5G, that ain't going to happen, because they're just going to get replaced with what's called Tesla coils, which will then transmit free energy around the globe.
Yeah. I mean, what I would say to people is to really visualize your own beautiful world. You know, when you go to bed on a night, imagine that world, because our inner world reflects our outer world, and it is magnetism. And, you know, there are a huge collective in the world. This is why we're tipping the edge. There's a huge collective of light, and we're all visualizing this beautiful world of love, of living on free energy, of eating the most beautiful free food that Mother Earth provides us. You know, animals living beautiful lives. Us being creative, inventing from our creativity things that will really help the planet, help bring communities together. You know, we'll be drinking beautiful water that energizes us, that's not full of poison, and you know, our skies will be clear. You know, visualize this beautiful world as much as you can, and hold that in your heart, because it's coming and we're bringing it in.
And while Nikki was talking, again, Spirit just dropped an image in. So they like giving me analogies, because I feel that's the way they translate quantum information into layman's terms. So where the world is at the moment, you imagine a snake shedding its skin, or a spider shedding its skin. It goes through a lot of change and pain to a certain degree, because it's letting go of a big chunk of its old self that's been comfortable for it. But it has to let it go. It has to outgrow it. And that does create energetic imbalance. Well, you look at, you know, the world is doing exactly the same thing. It is shedding an old skin. And during energy like that, there's going to be turmoil. So you think about, that's why there's riots, that's why there's anger, that's why there's this, you know, there's all these. Stop looking at the bad things that are happening. It's just because old energy has to come to the surface to be released. Be let go of, to be recognized, to go, I don't want to use that energy anymore. I don't want to have that anymore. I'll just let it go. So on a micro level, on a personal level, if there's stuff going on in your life at the moment that you don't want to carry on, look at it and go, well, do I need to carry this anymore? Do I need to energize this? Do I need to buy? It's essentially a contract with yourself. Do you need to buy into that contract anymore to carry that argument with that person, or to carry that hatred for that person, or to believe that you're poor? All those kinds of things. Do you need them anymore? And if you don't, if you're at a good enough place to go, you know what, I don't need to carry that anymore, do the inner work. Learn to understand yourself and do the inner work. What that means is going within, finding out where you created it, because you did create it. In other words, take ownership of it. Because if you're still blaming it on someone else, you'll never let go. And we are, me and Nikki ourselves are both seasoned shadow workers. In other words, seasoned at going within. So we know, we know that going within, that's where your answers sit. It's where your truth sits. And it's where your greatest power sits. But you've got to go within, and you've got to take ownership for everything that you chose. And myself, in my skill, I work at soul contract level, and we choose everything. Believe you me, I've not come across a client where I can't say, this is your shit. It's not technically French, but and once you learn to own it, there and you start to looking at the right place to learn the lesson from it, because you chose it to teach you something. So then you can grow as a soul, and then you can let more light in. And the world is just doing the same thing at the moment.
Yeah, that's a beautiful description, Roy. And I'd just like to add on to that. It's, everything that we've experienced is there, has been there to, as you've said, serve us and to show us something, teach us something more about ourselves. And, there's a lot of people that have kind of feelings, memories, programming that they just want to get rid of. And I would just say it's it's about loving that part of you as well, because we can't just get rid of something. It would be bypassing, would be trying to bypass something very valuable. So if something comes up like an anger or a pain or an upsetment, my advice is sit with it. You won't stay with it. You won't stay with it for too long. Sit with it. What's the lesson from it? What do I need to understand about this?
What does it teach?
Yeah. Now you might sit with it for an hour, a few minutes, a day, but that once you receive that learning and once you understand it's there to serve you, it will integrate. It's not getting rid of, it will integrate. And the more love you give to whatever feeling it is, the easier you will find that journey. Because getting rid of something or not looking at it or putting a wall up, it's only going to keep coming back and representing it. And that's actually really loving, because it's saying, no, come on, I need you to see this. I need you to see this. I need to grow. I need you to evolve. Come on, see this, see this. It's beautiful when you see it from that aspect of things.
Yeah, and when that pertains to a particular person in your life that you don't like or you hate or you think they're causing you harm, and again, I'm not saying this to lessen the experience. We come down here to have the experience, but when the experience is done, everything conspires to bring it to the surface to then let it go. But it's often we stay in that, and we basically step into what I term victim mode, in that you buy into the experience and stay in the experience instead of learning from it and moving on. But when it pertains to a person, they become your teacher. When you see them as your attacker, you're not learning. So if there's anybody that's watching, if there's someone in your life that you're already struggling with, look at them as your teacher, because it just means they're a very powerful teacher and they've got a very powerful lesson to teach you that's going to step you into your greatest gift. And without them in your life, you won't be able to step into it, which then makes them a beautiful person in your life, regardless of at any level. And I've worked with many different people on many different levels from many different places of trauma. And the principle is the same with every of them. I've always been able to help them see that person as a teacher. And once you see it as a teacher, and once you learn the lesson, you can let it go. You're no longer in that pain. You're no longer in that emotional pain. Your body can naturally heal. I mean, once to get rid of, like I say, as Nikki was saying, once to get rid of all the toxins and everything that's been added into the water, to the air, to our food, our body naturally repairs. That's what it's built to do. It's a very, 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 very sophisticated spacesuit that can repair itself. It's just that there's been stuff put in what we ingest into our body with the air, the water, and the food as stopping our bodies from repairing itself.
And also thoughts.
Yeah.
Thoughts,
Absolutely.
thoughts are energy. So it's really important about what we're thinking to try and have those thoughts of a higher vibration. Again, it's not about bypassing. If there is a thought that is like a lower level vibration, it's okay, it's thinking, okay, that's not me, thank you for coming in, what is it there to teach me? Okay, thank you, you will get that in and then it will integrate. But yeah, it's everything. It's and the body in the right environment, we can cure everything, any dis-ease in the body in the right environment.
Because we're uncomfortable with it. In other words, it's annoying us, and it's annoying us for a reason.
Yeah.
Because it's there going, I need you to take notice of this. In other words, there's an energy blockage within us.
Yeah.
There's something there that you've come down here to learn, that you're now ready to learn. So I'm just going to annoy you until you really start paying attention.
Yeah.
Worse and worse and worse. You think like chronic illnesses, that's a classic example of someone that's been ignoring something for God knows how long. Now, don't get me wrong, there are other purposes for that. We're just talking in this particular avenue about, people have been ignoring stuff that presents itself as a physical illness will get worse and worse and worse until you look into the reason why it's come to the surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, emotions and feelings, those low levels emotions of like traumas, actually manifest in the cells of our bodies and a lot in our organs. And the more that they are undealt with, they crystallize into organs. And then if we're ignoring it and we're not nurturing ourselves, it will crystallize further into a disease. But especially with the work that I do with the quantum flow, it's an embodiment practice as well. So we're using the body, we're opening up channels, we're opening up the meridians and energy centers in the body, and we're using alchemy to really allow these centers to open and to flow and to purge out some of these pains or traumas or dis-ease from the body. So yeah, there's so many. Roy and I do very similar work in different ways.
Yeah.
Just like everything, there's many ways to the top of the mountain. The top of the mountain being maybe self-actualized or awakened. There's many ways to the top of the mountain. There's infinite ways to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're doing the same work, but just using our own special gifts.
Yeah, we're unique. Everyone's unique.
We're sovereign beings, and our gifts have been revealed to us and will continue to be revealed to us, just like everybody. We've all got our unique way, and there's infinite ways. So yeah, it's really interesting, isn't it? How we came together, really, and as friends. And
how did we come across each other?
Yeah, well, I think we started chatting.
A session with me through Bobby.
That's right. I watched one of your sessions, and I really resonated with what you were saying. And then I think I hopped on and had a session with you, didn't I?
Yeah. You had a couple, I think, in the end.
Yeah, which was amazing, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah. Likewise. You've helped me shift a really big block of mine.
Yeah, I think we've both done sessions for each other because, again, we are not saying we're perfect. We are not saying, oh, that's it. Whoa, we're on the path along with everybody else, and we've still got things that we will be working on.
You're always learning. Always
learning.
That's the quantum universe. There's always something to look at and delve into, and look, it's not in your face 24/7. Like for me, my big healing last week. It was a massive healing, but I'm going about my business like I never did anything. Because I've just, to be perfectly honest, I've just got really good at it. So,
well, you just got to a point where it's
you don't need to buy. I don't.
fast.
It was to give you viewers a little bit of insight of something back when I was 5 that was extremely deep and powerful for me. But because I'm so versed at doing all this stuff, I'm just like, I don't need to buy into it. I just need to look. I just need to look at the lesson. The cheat sheet. Look, the cheat sheet into regards to going within and understanding you. It's either self-worth or self-love. Those are the 2 issues. Anything below that you come up to is just umbrellaed under those 2 things. And those 2 things you learn monkey see, monkey do off parents, uncles, people around you at the time, grandparents or close friends. You learn those 2 things as a habit. So if you want to do some deep inner healing, go to those 2 places, look between the ages of 0 and 7, where that's where our brain gets hardwired. And then once you turn 7, most of your habits that you all have in life are all formed up until the age of 7. Then all your habits are formed. That's habits around love, habits around relationships, habits around how you treat animals, habits around how you what your belief around money is, your wealth, abundance, your habits around self-worth, habits around self-love, all habits. And up until the 70s, I believe, everybody thought that anything in your brain couldn't be rewired, but it's very rewirable, very changeable.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'd like to just interject there. It's actually, people may not know this, but it's actually also when we're actually in your mother's womb, the energy that your mother has taken on from all her programming. So when you're in that womb, you're also picking up on that energy of your mother. So if there is unworthiness in your mother, because her mother felt unworthy and her mother felt unworthy, and so it goes on.
Well, it depends on your soul contract, so I'll differ a bit on that one, because it all depends on your soul contract.
Okay. Well, it depends.
I feel the reason that's come up in this particular time is because many people coming through are breaking all those generational curses and all those generational patterns. But the reason, this is just my understanding, the reason they're doing that is, again, because we cannot shift anything that's not ours. You cannot heal anything that's not yours. So in other words, you can't do the work for someone else. You can't do the work for your mum who had those issues. What I'm saying is, like, if you go back about 7 lives, or depending on which life it was originally created, it was you creating it. You just passed it down the generations because that lesson had to last multiple lifetimes for you to understand it and grow as a soul. And so, but then, so then they just pass it down the generations. So then when it comes to the time of the breaking of that pattern, you're the one that takes it on board. And it's it's passed on as an energy, not as a genetic thing.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Energy. Yeah. Yeah. Well, everything is energy. So you
created it in the first place. So because again, it's my understanding of how the soul works is that you cannot heal anything that's someone else's because it's not yours.
Yeah.
You can guide people on it. You can give them information, but it's still up to them whether they release it or not. But if you've taken on board a habit from your mum or your dad, like, let's take one of the most obvious ones, which is belief around money and wealth. And then in this lifetime, you're a breaker of chains, as I am, and many others that are watching will be, and that you're breaking all these, what you're terming generational patterns. Well, if you went back to when it was originally created, and guarantee it'd be your life and you created it in the first place.
Yeah. I mean, I think what I was saying was, you said from 0 till 6, 7 is where we're hardwired. I think what I was saying, it's good to know that actually that wiring starts off in the mother's womb as well. It can do, depending on when I
did say 0 to 7. If you're in the womb, you're more than 0.
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to make it clear for the listeners that
I get you.
because some would just think, so you're born, and some would actually think, well, it can't be babies, because what do we know? Babies, it's right from that start. because again, it's energy, it's a feeling that we can adopt. And you all know that, you've heard the saying, you can cut the atmosphere with a knife when you walk into a room and it's like, oh, like they were giving me daggers. It's because you can feel that energy. And that's a really good example of so when we're in our mother's womb, we still have that. We will have that senses more than what we do now. Yeah. And so yeah, if there's a lot of fear in the mother, we can definitely take that on. We can definitely feel that. Unworthiness, as you've said, we can take all that on. But you know, with my work, with Roy's work, for me personally, I do work within the quantum field that can take you all the way back to that first memory, and then to really help work through that, and so you can actually heal that yourself. So that will release you, free you, and then on to the next thing.
Yeah. And me myself, I work at the creation point, so it doesn't matter what dimension that's in, what time that's in, what life it was in. I can take you back to where you first created it, the reason why you created it, and then help you release it there.
Yeah.
So what I feel is like, you know, I understand now how Charlie Freak and Charlie Ward talk for hours and hours and hours, and videos, it's like, oh my word. It just goes. So, well, I feel that's a really good, lovely introduction to the quantum things, and we did stay away from the truth, as in what people consider conspiracy. We kind of kept that at the surface. So I think pat on the backs for that one. We stayed in where we wanted to take this, because we wanted to just do something different for the viewers, because there's lots of rabbit hole videos out there, and we just wanted to talk more of how the energy is shifting around the world, and to help people understand it. Because when we get the other side, there's going to be a lot of people shifting shadow, and there's going to be a lot of people working in shadow, just as there's a picture behind me that's all shadow pretty much. Gotta love those. Divine timing. So for anybody that's watching, leave comments below. If there's any topics you'd like us to talk about next time, any questions you've got in regards to tonight that we'll cover next time. And I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you've watched it all the way through. As long as you've got past the first 5 minutes when Nikki messed up, you'll be fine.
Hopefully I've redeemed myself a little bit now.
Keep watching. She'll redeem herself. And I look forward to doing the next one. Look, we was talking about doing this for ages, and then I was getting hustled from my team. When I say my team, that's my spirit team, including my higher self, going, we need you to start talking. We need you to start getting your voice out there. You're ready for it now. Get it done. Obviously, Nikki's ready for it as well, because I've roped her into it and basically coerced her. Well, I'm not coerced her into it, but I've said, look, it's me and you, because I feel we need the two different poles.
Yeah.
We need the two hemispheres. Well, I don't even know if I want to say two hemispheres. I don't know how that works.
Well, I'm at one end of the world. You're at the other end. Now, whether that be round, flat, square, or flat, shall we just say that?
We're in the same dimension, put it that way.
Yeah.
In two different countries. You know, she's in the UK, I'm in Australia. Two different countries of the current Commonwealth. That may have changed now already, actually. Yeah, who knows? But so thank you very much for watching, everybody, and we look forward to seeing you next time. Spread the word. We will keep doing this. We may even have other guests on. We don't know yet. It's just an open. We go with when it goes with the flow. What that normally means is Spirit hasn't told me what we're doing next. They'll tell me. They'll tell Nikki. I feel.
Can I just? Oh, sorry. I thought you'd finished. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say. I feel I work a little bit more direct with Spirit, as in getting voices in my head, than what Nikki works with. She works more closely with energy and the subtle changes of things. So, like I said, we all work our different ways. We've all got our different purposes, and we're all unique. But me and Nikki bounce off each other really well.
Yeah. So, and please like and subscribe to our channel.
Absolutely. Yes. So yeah, thank you. See, that's where Nikki shines. She thinks of those little things, because once I get in the flow, Spirit have no concept of the third dimensional physical realm. Whereas Nick is very good at staying conscious in the moment. So thank you very much. And yeah, we'll see you all again soon.
See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.